I'm John Lee with St. Louis Real Estate Investors Association. Today is, let's see here, the February 16th, 2024. And let's see, I just have a couple announcements before we get going here. If you don't have it on your calendar, next Tuesday at the Moolah Shrine Center, we're having our main event, which is Chris Clewine. He's a master wholesaler here in St. Louis. So our doors open at 6:30 and he'll start about 7 o'clock. So make sure that you arrive in person if at all possible. Make sure you get some networking in. And then on March 19th, next month, we have Brad Sumrock. He's the apartment king. He's a national speaker. You might have seen him with Rich Dad Poor Dad or on some of the other things. He's does things a little bit differently, and it's a little bit different than some of the things I've done. But I highly recommend you learn from Brad. He's got some great things coming up. He's got some live events coming up this year too, which are really kind of really good investments because they're not very costly, and you get a lot out of it. I've learned a lot from Brad over the last couple of years. What else we got? On March 21st through the 24th, the Moolah Shriner Circus is at the St. Charles Family Arena, and us at STLREIA are going to be a sponsor again. So we're going to have some tickets and some things. If you looked on the website recently, we do have the updated coloring book. So you can download that. What I usually recommend is instead of downloading all 200 pages, just get a couple of them here and there that you want to color if you have somebody that wants to color. Then, only other thing I have today is on the first Friday of the month, March 1st, Catherine Davis, who always joins us, our attorney, Ask the Attorney, she will be back to talk about the CTA, the Corporate Transparency Act. That's a big deal. I know Diana sent out some things on that. If you know anything about that, make sure that's something you want to know about, because you only have till the end of the year. There's some, if you need to register who's behind and actually responsible for your corporations, your LLCs and S corps and all that. Because if you don't, there's some pretty stiff fines if you don't do it. So make sure you tune in for her on March the 1st. And I guess that's about all I have today. Of course, everything else, all the updates will be on the website, STLREIA.com. And with that, I guess we'll let Laura do our disclaimer and then we'll get started.
All righty. Good morning and welcome, everyone. First, I'd like to do a bit of housekeeping. Feel free to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. Please be mindful of everyone else by muting yourself while others are speaking. You're welcome to put any contact information that you want to share into the chat. We meet here to look for deals, share deals and solutions we have in need with our real estate. We are not your financial advisors, attorney, or accountants. We do not endorse or recommend any specific solutions or contractors here. You're advised to do your own due diligence to your own satisfaction before you invest. First Friday of each month is Ask the Attorney with Ms. Catherine Davis. Our meetings are typically recorded, so only share what you want others to know.
Thank you, Laura. All right. Does anybody have anything? I guess we'll start with, they want to buy or sell today? No? Anybody have anything they're working on they would like to talk about?
Hey, John.
Yes. Hey, Jim.
How are you?
I'm good. And you?
Fine. Let me put on my pretty face so everybody can see me here.
Yeah, you don't sound like Patricia.
Let's see. I'm not sure if I got the right one. There we go. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. All right.
There you
are. Did you mention, maybe you did, I missed it, when we're going to have our monthly luncheon?
I did not mention that today. I know that was last week. That's the first, well, you can talk about that. That's the first Monday of the month, and that's at Applebee's, correct? Would you like to? Did you go to the last one there, Jim, the first one?
Yes, I did. We had about 12 people, and we had a number of people that it was their first time and have not come to our group, and we told them about you know, the upcoming meeting for Tuesday night. So, yeah, we had a good turnout there, and the setup I think is a little bit better. They got us on the other side of Applebee's now, and just you can get all a longer row, I think, of tables there. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It was a lot of good conversation, and again, I think the newbies especially liked it, and you know, some of the old timers gave them a few ideas and told them to come to Tuesday night. You know, but I encourage anybody to come to that meeting at Applebee's too. It was from 11 to 1 roughly. Applebee's there at was at 270 and Olive. Was that the Drury, I think, right? Is that the Drury there? So it was good. So that's all I got right at the moment.
Thank you, Jim. Now you said that's on the other side. So when you walk in, it's to the right.
Yeah, correct.
And not the left. Okay. Okay. That's where we started off about 12 years ago, or whenever we first started that. And then we outgrew that and they moved us over to the other side. So
yeah, well, that's true. If you get too many, then we got to go over to the other side. We had enough.
nice.
But yeah, you're right on that. I guess if we get a few more in there, we may have to move back to the other side.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I had forgotten we started on that side. I watched some
I forgot
videos.
that too.
Yeah, we watched some videos not too long ago that came up in the archives there, and it was from like 12 years ago.
How about that?
So yeah, that's a great thing. And I know we had we kind of had to stop that you know, with all the things that happened in the last few years. And that's actually one reason we started meeting here on Friday. It was actually through Catherine Davis, who now comes through you know, the attorney here that comes on the first Friday of the month. And she started off with all this right here though, but that replaced our lunch, which has turned into a good networking event. But the in-person events are always the best. And
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning Tuesday night too, because I know Chris is, you know, he's one of the more knowledgeable people in our group, I think, as far as what's going on today, because he's still out there wholesaling and doing owner financing and a lot of things that, you know, a lot of specialties that we all need to, you know, we can always brush up on. Even if we know this stuff, we can always pick up some good little tidbits, you know, things that help us.
And two, with the newbies in the group, you know, a lot of people are strapped for cash when they're first starting out, and wholesaling is one option to do, you know, where you buy the properties, you flip them, and you get some cash, to the point where then if you want to retain the property, especially, you know, for long-term gain, and that's the best way to do it, in my opinion. But everybody's got their own thing. Or if they just want to wholesale, if they really don't want to be landlords, you can learn from Chris that way too. Either way, it's good to know what he's doing, and he seems very knowledgeable, like you said, reputable, and it's been around for a long time. So we all can learn from him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, he's a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Is that lunch open to the public?
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, you
You
can't
don't
bring
have to be a club member.
Dwayne, you can't bring your dog or your cat or anything like that. You know, you gotta, you know, just other people. Okay.
What if it's a
I can
service
bring my
animal?
service animal.
Well, yeah, I guess you can.
You know, Jim, do you know how many types of service animals there are?
I think it's just dogs, isn't it?
Nope.
True service.
No, a miniature horse is also listed in the government books.
Is it really?
Yeah, I was going to go to a seminar on that, and
a miniature horse.
I couldn't get on, so I don't know what happened, but I did study up on it. When it said a miniature horse, I'd like to know what it's doing.
Well, I had somebody one time and had a pot-bellied pig. It didn't work out though. I just can't see a pot-bellied pig walking around on my hardwood floors, one of my rentals. You know, it just, you know, I don't know if you can you train them like a cat or dog, do their thing, not on the floor? I don't know.
I would think so, but they're not a service animal. Only two were listed, and I was real surprised.
See, I learned something today, Dwayne. So, you know, I got to remember that miniature horse, not a full-size miniature.
Well, Dave Soto, you had mentioned some of that at our meeting last year. I know there's a couple different categories in service, and then the others, what, emotional or something like that? Is that?
Yeah, there's it's there's two different ones, and then there is some guidance out from the federal government on what you can't ask and what makes the service animal. So we actually don't get involved in that anymore. We now use a service called petscreening.com, and they've got the professionals, they've got the vets, they've got the
Use what,
attorneys.
Dave?
I'm sorry. Yeah, so that's who we use
What do
now.
you use?
Petscreening.com.
Petscreening.com.
So all tenants go out there, whether they have a pet or not, service animal. So if they have a pet, they actually they charge them for the screening, and they come back and give us a rating on the pet. So we charge our pet fees based on that rating, and our pet fee and pet rent based on that rating. If it's a service animal, they say it's a service animal or emotional support animal, and they don't have to pay anything. Or even the people that don't have pets, at least they go through the process, and they've got to sign paperwork saying that they understand they're not allowed to have pets. If they do have pets, they have to come back to us and get that all screening. So that really takes the burden off of us as to determining whether or not it's a legitimate service animal or emotional support animal. And it's been working very well. And again, the pet score has been a great thing for our tenants, our owners, because we used to charge just one flat fee for pet fee and pet rent. Now we have a way to determine what that pet fee and pet rent is going to be. The worse the score, the more we can charge, or the more we do charge. If it's I forget which range, the 1 or the 5. If it's one of those, we just don't take it because it's a pit bull or something like that we don't want to take the risk. But it's petscreen.com, takes the burden off you. You don't have to worry about whether it is or isn't. They take the liability for that.
So Dave, let me ask the question then. So if I'm hearing you right, depending on what type of animal it is, you charge a different level of pet rent. If
No, it's depending on the score that they give them. It's going to be whether there's been, I'm not sure if it's the type of pet, but whether they've been vaccinated, whether there's been any history, things like that. History of the dog being violent or anything like that. And I can't tell you exactly what determines the score, but it's a 1 to 5, and we base the rent. And they're the ones that told us this is how you need to do it. And they didn't tell us how much to charge, but told us what you can do and can get away with. But again, the biggest part of that is the fact that takes liability off of us and with determining whether it's a service animal or not.
Interesting. Very good.
Now, is that only for dogs, Dave, or does that include other animals?
All animals.
All animals. Okay.
Pets. All pets are non-pets, right?
Great.
Because again, don't forget that if it's a service animal or a comfort animal, it's not a pet, and you have to look at it as it's no different than a wheelchair or a cane. You can't. That's how you have to look at that animal as a.
Aren't they trying to change that law though on the comfort side, emotional support, that only service animals could be, required to be taken by a landlord?
No, it's and again, there's this still under the Trump administration when the guidance came out, because it was so vague as to what it was. And if you remember, they had these websites where people can go out and register their pet as a service animal.
Right.
The biggest thing they did is came back and said it's not the animal that you have to that's important. It's the person, whether they need it or not. So there's no more certification of the animal as being a comfort animal. It's whether the person has a need for this support animal. And that's what pet screening does. They go back and they contact the doctors or doctors of whatever entity that gives them that says that they need the service animal. They check that out, and they check the laws and make sure that they're in compliance. But no, I haven't heard anything about them changing that from strictly service animals. So service animals can be like the blind dog, the blind, the leading dog, or it's the service animals would be someone that provides a service, whether it's like helping them I think they have dogs that can sniff out if you're going to have a heart attack or not. Right? If you have a heart problem, they can sniff that out. That's going to be a service animal. As opposed to comfort animal, it's typically going to be someone that has a PTSD or something that whether it's a psychiatrist, someone says what would help you would be a comfort animal, and that's different. But either way, they can't be considered pets. You can't charge anything different for pets. So again, it's been a great product for us. And
Dave, isn't there a difference between a support animal and a service animal?
You mean an emotional support, Laura, is what I think you're trying to get to.
Right,
And there
rather
is,
than
there is.
there is, yes. Again,
Rather than
the
a
support
service.
animal is going to be for leading the blind or assisting with something physical, and support animal or the comfort animal is going to be for somebody has PTSD or anxiety or whatever it is, and makes them feel better.
I think there's still some confusion on my part because comfort animal, support animal, service animal. Those three.
It's only two, Jim.
Yes, yeah. So it's the comfort or emotional support. It's the same thing. So
I sure thought there was I thought they were trying to get a legislation passed, I guess in the state of Missouri, and I may be wrong on that, maybe on the federal.
I have not seen anything, and I follow it. So
yeah, okay.
The house is on recess until Monday, but otherwise I've got my screen up where I'm always watching all the hearings and things like that. So guess I'm that nerd. So.
Yeah, the emotional support, it can be any kind of an animal, but they have to be able to document it. And you can ask for that documentation, but you can't ask them what's wrong with them. And the same's true with the seeing eye type dog. And there's only two of those, and that's the dog and the horse.
Yeah.
I don't know what the horse does. But you can ask only two questions, as I understand it. One of them is it that type of animal? And if they say yes, you can ask, what task does it perform? And if they don't have a task, you're dead, or they're dead.
Mm-hmm.
It's really pretty simple when you read the process out there on the government system. If it was really bad earlier, like Dave said, I can see it being confusing, but it's pretty right. So if I'm only go with my boa constrictor, that's okay. But I
Constrictor.
find that.
I know sometimes the animals are your best tenants too. I've had that happen before.
Yeah, if they got a big enough dog or horse, they can't go anywhere else. So you got them for life,
Exactly.
But they do specify miniature horses, and they give you roughly what size they are and their weight.
So that horse could be just kind of walking around in the house.
Davis isn't going to be here today.
Is that correct?
The what?
So if you got a miniature horse, you can have that in the house with you.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I haven't had that experience yet.
So far.
Me neither. I wonder how you housebreak a horse. Anyway, Kathy Davis isn't going to be here today, correct?
First Friday of the month is when Kathy comes and joins us.
Okay, because the way I read it, I thought she was going to be today. So I'm going to duck out. You guys have a good day.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just say one more thing about the service animals and support animals is that you may not be able to charge for them, right? You have to treat them again like a wheelchair, but they cannot be disruptive. So if they're creating a problem, you can deny them, you can't evict them for at least violation. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So we've had one where they had their comfort animal and it sat there and barked in an apartment all the time, and it was we police fighted them and they had to go. So you can do that. So you're not stuck with the problem.
Now, do you have to document that, Dave? I mean, is there a
Absolutely.
process for that?
Yeah. Is there a what for that? Tom?
Like a process or a certain thing?
Yeah,
you have to
it's
follow?
it's going to be a normal lease violation like we have for everything else. We just check the box of, you know, disturbance, whatever it is that we've got. So they can't be destroying the property. They can be a nuisance. So even if it's comfort animals or support animal.
Hmm. Very interesting.
Hey, Dave, since we're on the subject of animals, if it's just a regular pet, what do you see is a normal additional charge for a pet charge per month?
Oh gosh, I don't have the off the top of my head, and my staff takes care of that. But we do. There is a range. So the pet non-refundable pet fee is, I think it goes from 200 to 500, and pet rent is from 35 to 100, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but it's in that ballpark.
In that ballpark, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And that depends on the type of animal it is that correct?
It depends on the score that they get from pet screening.
Okay.
No,
It's not necessarily the type of animal, it's the score. Whatever, all the things that they look at, again, immunizations, history, things like that.
Hmm.
good information.
Yeah, that's good to know. Thank you. I mean, that's great. Well, that's some good stuff. Anybody have anything they're working on right now as far as anybody want to buy or sell anything? I know seems like we got we've had a lot the last few weeks of people that are out there doing things. I know we'll all be a little more enthused probably next Friday after we get done hearing Chris on how to find some new deals around St. Louis. I know a lot of people think that the deals have kind of dried up, but I think you just have to look a little harder right now. And a lot of people, I know they get used to, using their, automated things or whatever and buying lists. And I know our experience is most of the good deals don't come off a list. They're just from word of mouth and talking to people, coming to places like this, but just networking with people and finding out who needs a problem solved. Because not everybody likes to speak up saying, "Hey, I got a problem and my house is for sale." But you got to kind of dig a little bit. So, that's and I know Chris is really good at that. So I do encourage you to show up Tuesday if at all possible and learn some things from him. And just get out there. I know a lot of people want to sit back and not do as much, and everybody with this automated everything these days and AI and all that kind of stuff, they think everything's easier, but really I think it gives us more opportunity, the people that are out doing stuff. So are you down in Florida, Jim? See? No? Maybe not. Okay. Mhm. Yeah, and Jules excited and looking forward to it. Yeah, I am too. I mean, I've known Chris for a long time, and I'm just really excited about it too because I know he always brings a lot of new stuff because he's on the cutting edge of a lot of things there. So that'll be a great meeting. And do show up early if at all possible too. We open the doors at 6:30, and it's a good time to network. Again, we have time. If you want to. If you have any services you offer too, you can stand up and talk about them. You can, if you say anything you're looking for, or if you got anything for sale, it's always a good time to have, meet people one-on-one, bring some business cards or, whatever you want to do to share some information or just show up as a fly on the wall. I know a lot of us do that even here. We have a lot of people that come in just to listen. And I know we do that the same way with the recordings. People come up because you can pick up a lot just by listening. I know I do. I know I learn a lot more from listening than I do from talking. If I'm talking, I already say something I know, but if I'm listening, I pick up stuff I don't know. So. All right. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share with us today? Anything you're working on? Anything I see Laura's not here today. Laura Lennington. I was wondering how she had a commercial place she was doing owner financing on. She's been talking about the last couple of weeks. And I was going to ask her about that, but that was the pictures. I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at them, but that place out there on Hillsborough really looks really good. If if you're somebody that has a little bit more motivation than I really do right now, or time, I guess, more than anything, that's a really good opportunity for somebody because it's multi-use. You'd have some people that could lease from you, and the cash flow looks really good. And it wasn't that much to get into that. I know she just put a lot of money into septic and a couple other things on there. So
You can get good deals from some of the wholesalers. My wife and I were doing it 30 years ago. We were buying them from wholesalers. We bought a number of them. Back then, just kind of like a general rule of thumb, you had to make $10,000. It seemed to me that was kind of a very often used amount if you're flipping a house, or if you're just wholesaling it. I don't know what it is now. It's probably more than that. But that being said, if they buy it for the right price and they have whatever amount they have into it, if you look at it and you can, figure out how much it's going to take, and that's always the biggest issue, how much is it going to take to fix that thing up, to bring it up to what it should be, market value. And, can you make the numbers work then if you want to flip it again or keep it and rent it out? But there's buyers out there and sellers, and there's money to be made, but you just got to be careful when you're buying in that situation. You want to make sure that the numbers work for you. And that's really important. And that's probably the biggest challenge for a beginner in this business, is knowing how much it's going to take to rehab that property. We still don't get it right after 40 years. It's still more usually than what we think, but we're in a position we can afford to put more into it. If you're starting out, that we understand that there's not a lot of extra money, so you just got to really understand as best you can what the costs are going to be. And that's why if you start watching these contractors when they're doing their work and understanding as much as you can what goes into rehabbing a house, the different, utilities inside the house. Not that you're going to be doing it necessarily physically, but knowing what it's going to take and what it's going to cost. So you can kind of, as best as you can, estimate what that thing's going to cost to bring it up to the value you need to have to be able to rent it or to flip it. That's the biggest issue. And you can learn some of that from a book, but very often it's just watching the guys doing the work or getting involved and doing some of the work yourself. If you got a relative or a friend that's rehabbing a bathroom or a basement, go over and help them, so you can learn something. But so many of the young people today don't want to do that. They don't want to get their hands dirty, which means you got to farm everything out, and you have to just take what you think is the best price from multiple contractors. It may still be too high when 3 or 4 or 6 of them give you a quote because they're all real busy. Then what do? That's the kind of things that, it takes time to learn that, but you make your money when you buy, as they say. That's when you make your money. All right, that's when you lose your money if you don't buy it at the right price.
That's some great advice right there, Jim. And I know when I was new, I didn't keep enough money back in reserve, and that's something a lot of new people don't have, is some of the reserves. Because what happens when you get into it, and then your heater does break, or you do have a major repair or something you didn't count on? I mean, that could wipe out your savings or whatever it is. So that's a good point. And following somebody around, I think that's some of the best advice right there.
I used to do that with plumbers when they come in. When I first started out, I didn't know a thing about plumbing. And I would take pictures of the plumbers, and not that I stayed there the whole day with them, but I would take some pictures of it, and they would explain to me what they're doing. And, now it's so easy too. You can go on YouTube and watch so many of these people doing the repair. So you at least understand what things should cost you. Again, it's not that you got to be doing all the work, but you got to know what's a legitimate price and where you draw the line on how much repairs you do for your plumbing or your electrical or what have you or HVAC in a building. And I think that's the biggest challenge with the newbies starting out. And one is finding the cash to do it, but 2 is really understanding what goes into a house. You know, you can't just look at what color tile you want when you're all done, like they do on these rehab shows, you know, and so, you know, but these are the kind of things you learn when you come to the group and you talk to the people that have been in it forever, you know.
And you have a good point too with YouTube, because YouTube University, a lot of people talk about that. I learn a lot of stuff there, but I'll tell you, I learn as much of things like you said is that I don't want to do as I do that I can do, or maybe that I can do, but I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
I made a commitment to myself years ago that I would never work on a car. And to this day, I don't change a light bulb in it, because they specifically design cars so that you can't work on them unless you've been educated with these modern day cars. And so I'm thinking, why should I spend all my time figuring out how to change the brakes or even the oil or any of that? My time is much more productive if I spend that same amount of time investing in real estate. And to this day, I don't do anything. I don't, I've got that AAA for if I get a flat, it's not worth it. Call them, put it on, be done with it. And
Yep.
I don't have anybody, I don't cut my own grass. I haven't cut my own grass for 30 years. I got a big yard. I used to have a rider. Once that broke down, I got rid of it, and I pay somebody to come in and cut my grass each week. It saves me 3 hours a week. So those kind of things, you got to draw the line of what you're going to do or you're not going to do. And it frees up your time to spend your time more efficiently as to what you want to do each week.
That's a great point right there, Jim. Do what you're good at, and then let somebody else do what they're good at. And it's just well worth it. Well worth it.
Like roofs. I don't do roofs anymore. I did them for a few years, a little bit, and I realized that was another thing, that it's not worth it to save $1,000 on a roof or 2,000 on labor or whatever, or three. Concrete work too. So you got to know, you got to pick your poison sometimes, so to speak, as to what you want to know and learn. But I would highly suggest, if you're going to retain properties, you should try to learn as much as you can about plumbing, electrical, and HVAC. Those things are where it's going to cost you money over and over again. Okay. And again, it's not that you physically got to be doing them, but learn as much as you can what they should cost when things go bad. If you want to dive into it and physically do any of them, probably plumbing and electrical would be two better choices, only because HVAC is a little bit more of a challenge, knowing all the instruments and what have you to change, parts in your furnace or the air conditioner outside. But plumbing and electrical, and again, you got to be careful with electrical. Speaking as an electrical engineer, I'll tell you, you got to be careful. But there are certain things you can learn the basics of to do yourself. And plumbing the same way. And structurally, once your house is set up and you got the right doors in and the right walls up and blah, 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 you shouldn't have that much issues with it. Another one is waterproofing. Understand the differences in the aspects of waterproofing. I just had to have my house piered. Okay, I got one house that settled. It was $12,500 for multiple piers, for a lot of piers on a corner of my house. I walked out one day and I saw the bricks all with a zigzag going down, and I knew right away what was going on. The footing had settled. Well, I'm not going to do that myself. That's something you got to do. Just like if you're looking at a property, you walk around that building and you see your bricks and you see a lot of zigzag and cracks in them, there's a settlement problem. Or if you go downstairs and you see big cracks in the basement wall, and if it's been raining during the spring, then you can check out for easily, moisture problems. And those are going to cost big dollars. Okay, you're not talking $1,000 or $2,000 usually. You're talking up 5, 10, 15, 20 or more. So those are the kind of things that you got to understand when you go look at a property and you're going to buy it. Just takes time, and having a mentor is another good way of doing it. But all these things come into play when you want to buy properties. Buy a slab house, you don't have to worry about a basement. That's all I got.
That's great advice, Jim. And that's one reason to network with people. You mentioned getting a mentor, and actually there's probably a few of them you should have. I mean, I don't think one size fits all. And I know even with coaches and things that people, as you get to different levels in your investing career, you kind of touched on that. You start off, you need one thing. You need to figure out how to get the deals and what to look for, what not, and what you want to do. And then as you get more experienced and you know kind of what to look for, with what you want. I know we all have a different personality, and that kind of, that's kind of how we invest, whether we realize that or not up front. But some of us want to be the buy and hold type people. Some of us want to probably remain wholesalers too. I personally think you should always be a wholesaler no matter what. Because even when like on your trips down to Florida, do some market research while you're having lunch and things and look for deals and solving problems. And a lot of times you can tie up those, properties of the contract and just flip them to somebody else, even in the area that specializes in the area.
Yep, absolutely. Doing
Mhm.
that with one of our big time investors and what have you. I won't mention his name in our group who's thinking about buying a place in Florida, and I turned him on to a house that might be coming up for sale. Where we have ours down there. So.
And that right there is invaluable, what you just said right there, because that's how you find out stuff. It's not from a list somewhere. It's from talking to people that know stuff. I know when I used to look at houses a lot, and it still works that way. You go out, if you're looking at an empty house, kind of spend a little extra time and let the neighbors come out and see, because there's always somebody seems like always somebody that's been in the neighborhood for a while that knows everything about the history of the home. There's always this kind of dates me a little bit, but a Mrs. Kravitz out there that comes out to see what you're doing. And if you're just a little nice and start talking to them, they'll tell you about the son that left and this and that and what's going on with the house. A lot of times you can find out stuff that you cannot find online, even as far as connections. She might know somebody that the mother who's now in another state, or the sister or somebody, and have that connection for you. I know we've come across a lot of deals like that, and that's something you're not going to get off a list. You're just going to get it by talking to people and networking.
You go into a house that's vacant. I've done this before, and you walk around, you look at it, go down the basement, and it's in August, and it's hot as can be, hasn't rained, and the basement looks fine. You walk outside, and I've had this happen, and I see the neighbor next door outside, and this is a house for sale, And I walk over there and introduce myself, and we just start talking. I say, hey, by the way, you ever have any problems with water in your basement? And they say, oh yeah, we've had it here. I said, well, you think this one here? Oh yeah, Bob he had problems with water too. Invaluable, but you would never know that in August, okay, when it's hotter than can be, because everything's dry, So those kind of things are just little tidbits that you learn. So if you see a neighbor out there, especially real close, you can get information that way too about the property. They're not going to list. They're not going to identify that in the MLS book or otherwise,
That's a great point right there. But yeah, neighbors can be your best friends as far as saving you money, or even because you could go back with your offer too that way. Because like you said, they won't mention that on the MLS, but if you find out that inside information, that could be very valuable for you.
Yeah.
And
or you throw an extra $5,000 or $10,000 at it because you're going to have put in a drainage system, around the perimeter of your basement, probably 10 at least now, with a sump pump for that possibility of next April, following April, when it's raining like heck in May, when the thing starts leaking, and you might just go ahead and do it if you have to before people move in. It's a mess after somebody's moving in. They try to do that, those things you got to weigh, as an investor.
well, like you say, it may cost you more in April too than just to putting in the 5,000 or 10,000 right now to avoid all the problems.
Yeah.
And there's what Charles has something in there. Money's not hard to get. I totally agree with that. I think the biggest thing that a lot of people, especially new or even experienced people, is finding the deals. I think that's the most critical thing right there, because money will always find you if you have a deal. And a lot of wholesalers, especially when they're new, if your deal sells real quickly, maybe you didn't charge enough, but then again, you got your money. I've had stuff where I tried to get more money and then hung on to it too long. So that's another thing, but the money will find you if you can find the deals. I promise you that. I see Tiffany joined us there. Did you find a property for your buyer there in St. Charles, or your tenant in St. Charles, Tiffany? I don't know if you could hear us or not.
Sorry, I'm driving right now. No, I have not found a place for them yet. If you know anyone who has a 2-bedroom anywhere in St. Charles area by June, preferably the end of May, but anytime around then, please give me a call. My cell phone number is 636-299-0085. My email address is T for Tiffany Barnhart, BARNHART, homes@gmail.com. And I do apologize. As I mentioned, I'm driving and I'm not able to put that in the chat right now.
No, all good. Thank you, Tiffany. And what was there a dollar amount or a limit that you had on it? I think it was somebody you knew for a while too, if I remember right.
Yes, I have known them for over 10 years. Actually, I think it's been 12 years. And I went to church with them for years, and they are looking to move into either St. Charles School District or Fort Zumwalt School District. If possible, they are open to other areas, but those two were their top 2 choices that they requested, and they would like to stay around 1,200 if possible.
That was around 1,200, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Tiffany. So there's
Thank you very much. And if y'all have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to talk or make a connection for you. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a good opportunity for somebody if you have something coming due. I know this time of year typically is pretty good. I know a lot of us have our leases and our contracts coming up around springtime because of the way school works, and that gives you time to get it ready. And so anyway, so if you have anything in St. Charles, make sure you get a hold of Tiffany there. I'll go ahead and put your information in there in the chat for you, Tiffany.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. All right. Anybody else have anything they want to buy or sell, or got anything that they're working on? They might need some recommendations, or anybody looking for contractors, anything like that?
Actually, I do have one other thing. I am working with an investor who mentioned private money or hard money lenders for new construction. So I know we do have a few people in lending in this group. If anyone does any type of lending when it comes to the new construction side of it, I would love to be able to connect with you and get a little more information and see if this would be a good connection.
Okay. New construction, you said, is what area is that, Tiffany?
St. Charles County or possibly Warrenton.
All right. And you're looking for a hard money lender? I know we have a couple of them on here today.
Private money or hard money.
Private money or hard money. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. And yeah, I'll work on getting your information in here. I'm a slow typer, so just bear with me. And we will also, of course, have the replay. I always have it on YouTube by midnight. That's my rule to make sure I do it before I go to bed. And it's usually on the website in the members section on STLREIA.com by Monday, depending on what the webmaster's schedule is over the weekend. Because sometimes, depending on when we get it uploaded, for whatever reason, we don't get that until Monday. But it will be there, and by midnight tonight, though. So.
Hey, John, can I just throw this out there?
Yes, sure.
So the House did pass the bill that prohibits municipalities from imposing an eviction moratorium. So that has passed and it's going to the Senate. Now, if we get to the Senate, that'll be something with everything going on at the Senate. But just want to give you an update on what's going on with that. And did pass.
It did.
Dave, can you repeat that, please?
Sure. There was a bill out that prohibits municipalities from imposing their own eviction moratorium.
Mm-hmm.
So that passed this week and it's gone to the Senate.
Okay. When would that be finalized, Dave? You're up on that stuff more than I
No,
am.
it depends what the Senate's going to do. Right now, the Senate's in such turmoil that a lot of people are saying that we may only see a budget this year, that they won't pass any other laws because there's such turmoil going on right there. We have so many people running for offices and they're just trying to show themselves as keeping their own chest. So there's issues in the Senate.
Yeah, it's bad when you make the federal news, or the national news.
Yeah, if it does get passed by the Senate, the governor will sign it and it'll go into effect August 28th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the other thing, Dave, I think Kathy kind of mentioned that too. Isn't it July 1st where the tenants in the St. Louis area are going to have legal representation or at least attorney? I think it's a first come, first serve if I remember right. But they're going to have some money to fight evictions, things like that.
To represent them at evictions. Yeah. So, and I don't remember exactly if it's happening. St. Louis and Kansas City have it in place, so it's taxpayer funded. Like she said, that's sometimes a good thing for her because she can talk to an attorney and get things resolved, right? And the bad thing is that the real bad part of it is you don't have to have a need to have a attorney. If you can afford your own attorney, you don't need to bring your own attorney, right? You can use the city's attorney, so city appointed attorney. So that's the bad part about it. There's no criteria for needing that. You just automatically get an attorney if you want one.
Mm-hmm. It's like from what I understand, what she was saying too, that's a first come and first serve. So you need to be on there, if you're a tenant, you need to get on there Monday morning whenever they open that up, because as soon as the spots are taken, that's it for the week.
Yeah.
So we can ask her more about that, I guess, when she's back on the 1st of March. So
I think she had said that there was $1 million set aside, but she said with lawyers, $1 million doesn't last very long. Like you said, first come, first serve. And it was for them trying to stall being kicked out of their properties. But I'm just restating pretty much what you said, I guess, that Kathy had said that if there's a legitimate reason, they'll, even though the lawyers are representing the tenants in this case, I guess, they'll still be evicted, for not paying rent or for doing something illegal. So it doesn't really change that. It's like the lawyers aren't acting illegally. It's just they're representing them rather than them automatically, I guess, getting default judgments in some cases or otherwise. And an hour ago, it wasn't snowing, but it's snowing outside my back window, right, Jim? You see that? You're muted. Oh, well. So everybody be careful out there. Your mouth's moving, but I can't hear you, Jim. Oh, well.
I was saying it's nice to be retired.
Yeah.
And
you don't have to go out if you don't want to.
No. But then again, you know, if you have rental property, are you really retired? Not totally, but that's okay.
No, not really.
You know, as we say, you're making money when you're sleeping as well as when you're awake, when you have rental property. So you got, you know, look at the good side of
Yep.
it.
Thank you, Bruce. And thank you, Jim. Also, you're spending money while you're sleeping sometimes if you're not careful.
Yeah, that's true too. If you don't keep up with things, and
Yep.
you know, when you're rehabbing a house, a lot of times it just makes more sense to change it and fix it and replace it before the people ever move in. If you got a water heater that's on its last leg and it's still operating, well, yeah, that's not the end of the world. You could wait. But if you have a, let's say, I don't know, it could be a water problem again, or a significant electrical problem, or a plumbing stack that's just older in the hills, cast iron, and it looks like it's going to give way. And you might want to just consider replacing it before the people ever move in. It's just more of a challenge. And the reason I can tell you that, especially, is I have a number of single ladies that rent from me, and a number of them are working from home now. And the one of them did not want me coming over during the week because she was working, and she was involved with aspects of health, talking to people. And with the HIPAA law, she says I couldn't be in there and listening to what she was saying. Well, I wouldn't care about listening to anything, but she proved her point, I guess. So I was limited to just going in on the weekends, and it made it very challenging for me with my weekends and what I want to do with my weekends. And the other lady, on the other hand, she was okay with me coming in, but the point is, it was still an aggravation to them because they were working from home. So it's a different aspect now with people working from home, and how that affects when you can go in and how much work you can do without disturbing them. All that comes into play. So that's another reason for buying houses now, 3 bedrooms versus 2 bedrooms. You got that extra room that maybe a single people especially, could convert into an office space. More and more I'm seeing that, people working from home, but it does affect how you can get in there and do work, because you're making noise sometimes and everything else while they're on the phone. And I understand they don't like that.
That's a great point, Jim. A lot of people are working from home still. I know a lot of people went back, but there's still a lot of people that even have their home office, like you said. And that actually is a good point to actually maybe even charge a little bit more than market rent in a lot of cases.
Yeah, if you could fix something up in the basement just as an office, I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing that. You just can't throw a bedroom down there unless you have means of egress. That's, you know, by law, certain things you got to do to have a basement bedroom. But, you know, I don't see anything wrong with having an office down there, you know, and, you know, that's another reason they have at least a half finished basement where they could put an office down there possibly.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like Jan Duke does, opens them up and then just calls it a lower level and makes it all part of the living environment. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I've seen, well, you've seen some of the things she's done, which is really phenomenal. I mean, just opens up
yeah.
the house, and the egress is a huge thing, though, whether you can call it a basement or, you know, whether you can call it a bedroom or not, but you can actually use it for a living area regardless and make it really a way more valuable piece of property.
Right. Exactly.
Mhm. All right, good conversations. Anybody else have anything that they're working on, or anything else they'd like to say today?
It's snowing pretty bad here in St. Louis right now. Where are you at, John?
We're in Weldon Spring right now.
Oh, are you? Okay.
We had to come home last night. Yeah, we were going to stay out at our place at Mine Lamont, and we were supposed to have our grandson today, but then they had a snow day, even though it was a scheduled teachers meet. I don't know the whole story, but here we are.
Understood.
Yeah. But the closet guy was working on our stuff last night, so everything's coming together. It's funny you mentioned, you just mentioned the workers out making noise during work. I was on a meeting on Wednesday that I was on, and the guy was in the other room putting in some stuff, and we could hear all his power tools across my meeting on my recording. Now I have so I had to talk loud. So
As long as you don't hear a stop in the noise and a cuss word or two flying, that could be worse.
yes, no, there was none of that this time.
I've heard that before, being in another room, and I say, oh no, what happened now?
Now that was the plumber a couple weeks ago. We heard him in there cussing, and we were there. We weren't on a meeting, but we go, "Uh-oh!" Went in there, and there was water squirting all over with the sinking equipment.
Yeah, things happen like that.
But we didn't record that one.
Yeah, there you go.
He got it fixed up. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts building stuff, as you know.
Yep.
Yeah, when you hire the Three Stooges, you got to expect that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's for
for
sure.
you older people out here. Yeah.
Too funny.
Hey, John.
Yes.
Yeah, let me throw my 2 cents worth in. Great meeting, by the way. Great meeting. I'm a private money lender. I specialize in fix and flips, reboots and keep, and refi and borrowers. I also finance commercial, and I'll be giving Tiffany a call. Please pass my name on to anyone that fits one of those 3 categories. I've put my email in the chat. It's j@Roman, which is ROHMAN, nationwidehouses.com. Will beat or meet your current lenders, and I'll put my stuff in the chat again. So great meeting, by the way. Thanks.
Thank you, Jay. Make sure you put that in to everyone, because I don't see your information in there. Just thumbing through here.
Yep, I'm on the first one.
Very first one? Nah, it's not on mine. So just make sure you put it to everyone.
Yep, I will. Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
thanks.
now I see.
Yeah, because sometimes that gets, I don't know, they change. I'm not sure how all the things work on Zoom. They change. It seems like every time I think I know something, it's changed.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah, very good. Okay, thank you.
Hey, John, one of the comments, I guess
Uh-huh.
is Charles Rothen, property report at times can save you a lot of time before spending too much time on property. I'd like to understand more about that property report. I'm at the point, I've been doing it so long, I just do it myself. I now analyze the property, but for beginners, that's not a bad deal. But who does the property reports? You just get a home inspector to come in, or?
This is Chuck. The property reports are generated from, you can get them from different sources. I've got 2, 3. And what basically it does will save you a trip to the courthouse. It'll give you a lot of the owners past that have owned the property. For one instance, I was looking up a property myself in St. Louis. Everything looked good as far as on Zillow and stuff. And then I brought up the property on the report, and the property had been sold like 8 times in 6 years. So that's a pretty good indicator there was a problem there.
So when you say a property report, I mean, you got does it include an analysis of the physical conditions of the property, or is it more a title search? The way you're talking, I hear it's more like a title search.
A little bit of both. It usually will give you a rough idea. I do not exactly know how they determine that, but they will usually give you a rehab effort amount, whether it's a high rehab or a lower rehab to expect. So for like me, I can send out a offer using that and find out whether they're interested in selling or not at that point. And then if they're interested in selling, then it's going to take more of a search and somebody to look at it, which there's different entities to do that too.
Yeah.
And then negotiate with the seller depending on what that is.
So a big thing for me would be the title, and if there's any liens on the property.
Now
So is there a title company that's involved with this property report? That do they give you a letter, as they said? You know, it used to be you could pay a minimal amount of money for a letter report from a title company. I haven't done that in a long time.
well, they don't necessarily have a letter. It's
do they give
anything
you-
that's going to be at the courthouse is going to be on it.
So they'll give you any liens that are on the property?
A lot of times they will. They
Okay.
may tell you it's got liens on it, may give you the amount, may not tell you just what the lien is.
How much are we talking about, Chuck, for something like that? What's a rough number?
I would, about $10 is what I'm trying to get across to people. So, because I got to pay for these programs. And they're not cheap.
For $10, you can get a property report?
Right.
So you're just contracting with a company that gives you that?
I pay monthly services for that. Yes.
Is that something you would be willing to tell us what company that is?
Yeah. Connected Investors, one of them.
Connected Investors.
And those reports, they were bought out by American Title, which is one of the biggies. So they've got pretty up-to-date information on that one.
So this is a national deal, not a local?
National, yeah. Or you can buy the local too.
So Connected Investors, American Title.
American Title bought them out.
Got it.
They're still all intact, but American Title owns it.
For $10, I would think that's a hell of a deal if they would.
There's a lot of them. I've got another one that it's $25. I don't know what they won't send you the report. You'd have to buy into their thing. I'm just trying to recover some of my cost.
Is there a monthly fee in addition to this $10 each property?
No, the properties, no, there's a monthly fee on it. And what is it? Around $80 a month, or you can pay it. I try to pay it annually, so I don't need to look at the monthly fee.
So in addition to that, then you pay for every property you want them to research.
No, I don't. I don't have to. I just got to make up first. It's going to cost probably, it varies anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 to get into these programs.
Okay.
And then it's about $1,000 a year.
Okay, so you spend a couple $1,000 a year to have that ability.
Yeah, a few thousand.
So where's the $10 a property come from?
That's what I'm trying to collect to help pay for this fee.
So you're willing to do that through your, okay, I get it now. Okay. All right.
Yeah, because then there's nobody.
Phone number?
Yeah, I've got it up there a couple times. 815. 323. That's my business number. I don't even can't 2133, I believe. Yep. 815-324-2133.
815-324-2133.
324-2133, right?
So
And
you're not here local in St. Louis? Not that
I'm at
matters.
the Lake of the Ozarks.
I just came back from the Lake of the Ozarks
Yeah.
when it was nice last week.
Yeah, it was darn nice last week.
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah.
But I'm just trying to recover some of it. If I don't get enough volume out of it, then I'll have to raise the price a little bit. But I've been carrying it on my own, doing it for nothing for a while, but I got to start getting something out of it.
How has it helped you?
It helps on time because you identify the property, you look it up. When you're negotiating with the seller, does what the seller saying and your property report match up? Sometimes a property report ain't 100%, but it brings up the questions to ask. And also you'll judge, is the seller being straight with you? If you start getting information that jives with the property report, then you feel a little more comfortable that you're dealing with somebody that's being straight with you.
Very interesting. I wasn't aware of that. I learned something again.
Okay, that's what I'm here for.
You're never too old to learn, right?
Oh, and the real estate stuff is changing so fast all the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You actually, I spend more time by far learning than I do doing, and that's part of my problem.
Well, sometimes, as I say, sooner or later, you just got to jump in there and in the ring of fire, so to speak. And if you do it right in the long term, you're okay. But you're not going to know everything when you.
Oh no, you can't know
And
everything.
it gets easier every time you buy a property. Okay, as they say, the first one's your toughest, and from there, then you know kind of some things, and it gets easier
Well,
on the second one.
you get your contacts developed and
Right.
all that. But the big thing is for anybody out there right now, all these operations are pushing hard because right now is the prime time because the foreclosures and pre-foreclosures are coming at us and they're pushing everybody to get going right now.
Commercial property is going to be hitting hard. I read that a lot of the loans that were established 15 years ago on a lot of commercial properties are coming due this year and next year. And of course, they had lower interest rates back then, and now they're going to have to be renegotiated. And the rents are not going up because people are moving out. So landlords are having a harder time renting them in
Yes.
full. So especially some of these very large commercial projects. Even looking down at Lake of the Ozarks, look at all, we drove around that one large shopping center you have down there. My wife was
Yeah, that's all going to be converted now.
we counted, I have to ask my wife again. I think we counted 15 shops open, and there's probably what, 100, 200
Oh yeah,
off shops. And it's I'll call it a strip mall, but it's a very nice, it's a beautiful strip
Right.
mall, for lack of a better word, but commercial, outdoor, walk around types of malls.
It used to be one hell of an attraction.
Yes, it was. And now there's like 50. And the lady just in the one story we went into said 4 people just closed shop last month. And then she said there's big plans for it to get all redeveloped. I hope it works. But the point is, not all these commercial establishments are going to make it, especially the office buildings. And there can be good opportunities there if you know how to buy right and
the thing is to buy right, knowing what to buy and what to buy and what is right.
Yeah, but commercial, especially office sites and retail to some extent. Yeah, it's coming. It's going to get hit, and the banks who've got these big loans are going to feel it. I don't think it's going to be 2008 again, but all things are pointing to that.
And your private money lending is opening up to that now. They were hands off of commercial, a lot of them.
Yeah.
But now they're coming back on, but it's got to be bought right.
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
Well, I guess we've held up the thing long enough.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll let John talk now.
Good conversations. One way, Jim, you can get a title report without paying for it. And I don't want to just tell you how to get around some of this stuff, but I've done a lot of letter reports. They're typically $150, $175.
Yeah.
But what you could do is if you have a sales contract, and what I would recommend is putting in a 10-day inspection clause and then hiring a professional inspector, but send that immediately to the title company, because they will, within usually a week, give you a full title report. I got one 2 days ago on a property I'm selling right now that somebody else did, and we kind of told them how to do that. But you could get that right away. Get your title work ordered immediately. Because that's the biggest thing that prevents people from getting a clear title, is something on there such as liens, or there's all kinds of stuff you come up with.
Yeah.
And
So
and
do
then
they charge you, John, for that?
no. Not
If
doing it this way. If you're going to now go in there with the intention, you're going to close at that title company, because they
Right.
make their monies on the research and on the insurance and on the fees.
Yeah.
Don't just go in there and use it. I've seen people
Right.
do that, and then they'll cut you off. But a
Yeah.
title company that you use, go give them a sales contract, and with both parties signing, and then they will go ahead and do the full title search for you. And
Yeah,
there's
good
no
point.
cost until you close. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
I know Pete Klarman, I think that's his name. He's an inspector with our group. He did a good presentation last year. And I did this when I was newer, and I kind of got away from it, and I wish I wouldn't have all the time. But spend the money on a professional. Once you get a property under contract, spend the $500 or $600, because that can save you $20,000 or more. And what I did, and to your point, Jim, of following around your vendors, but follow around the inspector. That's what I did with several properties, even though I was spending the $500, and just talk to them. What are you writing down? And then they give you a full report. It was like 18 or 20 pages of details is what I got. And I've actually, most of them, I just, and that gives you your negotiating points too, because you can go back in during your 10-day inspection report and say, hey, look, my professional just did this. Here it is. I can't give you I have to knock off 5,000 because it's going to cost me 5,000 for this, or whatever the case is.
Yeah, that's especially when you're first starting out. I think now I've done this enough where I don't need that service, but because being a electrical contractor too, I at least know that, and I've done enough plumbing. But for those who are just starting out, that's really a good idea, because if you're down that path, you're about ready to buy it, and then your inspector comes back with all these problems. Yeah, you're right. You usually can't negotiate that down. Even people with houses that are fixed up and what have you, there's all these things that are still found on an inspection report, and gives you the ability to negotiate the price down. So good advice on that. Good advice.
And one of the things that I do too is I don't put in the 10-day clause like most people do. I just have it based on approval of my partner.
Mm-hmm.
And my partner could be me sitting out there with a cup of coffee. My partner decided that day we were not going to approve it.
Yeah.
I've never walked away from a deal, but there's always an escape clause like that you use. And if you do it the way, like we're talking about with the title company too, it's a lot of work to do, but it's way better to know this stuff up front than to get into it, have your tenant move in, and then you got a flooding problem,
Yeah.
Way
That's
better.
true. That's true.
Mm-hmm. Well, great stuff today. Anybody else have we've gone a little over. Anybody else has anything they want to say? Feel free to say so now. Otherwise, I guess we'll plan on seeing you next week. And Tuesday, mark your calendars. Plan on being at the Moolah Shrine Center on Fifi, 6:30 on Tuesday for Chris Clewine, our master wholesaler here in town. Otherwise, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey, John, I just wanted to ask real quick. Do you happen to have any of those professional inspectors that you could share with us?
Yeah, Pete Klarman is a member of our group. I'll tell you what, if you send me an email and I'll get his information for you if you
I
want.
really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
let me just put my email in there for you. It's
You guys did great, by the way. A lot
yeah.
of good information.
Yeah, good discussions today. Good stuff. Yeah. It's mine. The easiest one is the AMS 826 at yahoo.com for me. I've got a couple others that I use, but that's probably the best one. So I'd be happy to
Great.
send it. I'll have to look them up, but I'd be happy to send that to you, Rico.
Thank you. I'll reach out.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Anybody else have anything today?
No, thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
All right.
Great
Thank
session.
you.